If you've ever been soldering and you get a bit of solder stuck on the end, on the tip of your soldering iron, and you think, am I going to get that off? It won't come off. You're soldering away, it's stuck to it. The reasons for that is all to do with heat, different tips, different solders, but I'm not bothered about the reason for it. The way to get it off is very easy and simple. You get a piece of rag, could be anything, towel, rag, as long as it'll, not melt away. When the iron is hot at working temperature, just get the end of it and just go like that. And it will clean the tip off as clean as a whistle. No more solder, no more flux, no more melted plastic from a wire stuck to it. As clean as a whistle. Some people take a bit of sandpaper when the iron is cold and sand it off. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Most tips have a little coating on them. This tip's definitely seen better days, but most tips have a coating on them. Sanding them, as far as I'm aware, is not a good idea. Just get a bit of rag, wipe it like that, clean it, clean as a whistle, carry on with life. What on earth? What are you doing all the way up there? Oh, right, well anyway, while you're just casually hanging from the roof, I thought I'd show some tips and some little tricks, I suppose, or just general ways of doing things. It's not hard to talk to you lot like this, you know that. I thought I'd show you some ways of doing things that I do things. Because I get a lot of questions on how do you do this, how do you do that. So I thought I'd just make a video. I hope you had fun hanging from the ceiling. Bloody hell. Anyway, yeah, I keep getting questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? Some RC, mostly on the RC channel related stuff. A couple of things like that soldering iron. Not necessarily RC related, but it can come in handy for RC because you do some soldering of electrics and stuff, don't you? So, that's just a little thing that I do. Now, you've got to remember that everybody finds different ways of doing things. You've also got to remember, most of the time, that there is no right or wrong way to do something. As long as the end result, just think of it like a woman. As long as the end result is a happy one, who cares how you get there? So this one is one that I've shown you lot many times, but I have had a few questions recently on on a few other videos that I've made recently, asking me how do you know if your glow starter is dead? There seems to be some people out there having trouble starting up their Nitro cars, and they're wondering if their glow starter is dead. Well, look, how do you know? I mean, there's no meter on there, is there? I mean, how do you know if it's dead? Well, what I do, and I'll show you what a lot of people do as well, but what I do is in my little toolbox, I keep just a random glow plug. And it's just a random one. It doesn't have to be any particular size, heat, brand, whatever. And you just keep it in there and you can test your glow starter to see whether it's working. A lot of people probably don't, and what I never used to. I just learned that as a thing I taught myself. But the other thing that you can do if you haven't got one, just take the glow plug out of your engine and put it in the glow starter. That does two things. It tests whether the glow plug is working and whether the glow starter is working. If it lights up, brilliant. But it's always handy to have a spare one in your toolbox. Reason being, if your engine won't start and you test your glow starter with your spare glow plug and it works, it might give you an indication that the glow plug inside your engine isn't working, in which case you take that out. You now know that your glow starter is charged up because it lit up this glow plug, and if the glow plug in your engine doesn't light up, you know that that is the problem. By the way, also bear in mind that a lot of the things that I'm probably going to mention, although you might learn something, but if you've been about for a while, in this kind of hobby, or many other hobbies probably, you might already know a lot of this stuff. So please just bear in mind that a lot of the stuff that I am saying is to help people that are new to the hobby, especially Nitro, mainly. But there is some other stuff, so you might learn something. I'd appreciate if you stuck around anyway. But also, if you happen to know another tip or a trick or something which might help somebody, put it in the comments, because we're all here to help each other. And as I said, there is more than one way to do whatever the thing is. Just because one person does it one way doesn't mean another person's method doesn't work. There's many different ways, pros and cons to everything. So there we go. Somebody called Dylan asked me, well, he didn't ask me, he told me that he's got his new, it's actually an FTX Carnage. He got his new FTX Carnage and he was trying to start it up. Apparently he got the shop that he bought it from to run it in for him, because he was worried about running it in. Yeah, so it's all been running and apparently tuned as well. And now he was trying to start it up and it wouldn't start, and now it's jammed. Well, the problem is there, most likely, is that it's flooded, basically. Too much fuel, you put too much fuel into it from trying to start it, and now what happens is there's so much fuel on the top of the cylinder that it can't be compressed, and it can't fire, it can't explode, it can't combust, because there's too much of it. So you need to get your little spanner, you need to take out the old glue plug. Take him out. Here he is. Look, happy as dappy, mate. You got a little copper washer in there. Make sure you don't lose that. It's perfectly fine to leave it in there. It don't always come out with the glow plug. As long as you don't lose it, that's the main thing. And then all you got to do, you'll find that you can now pull freely the pull start or the rotor start if you've got a rotor start, or a starter box if you've got a starter box. And if you do it fast enough, don't put your face over the top of it because you'll get sprayed with a bit of nitro, but do it fast enough and it'll all come spraying out, and you keep doing that until there's no more spraying out, and then you know that you've unflooded it. It's good practice. While you've got the glow plug out, take it out of the spanner, get your glow starter and just check to make sure that it is still working. In this case it is, because you can kill glow plugs from flooding your engine. It's unlikely that you will kill your glow plug from flooding your engine, but you can, and there's nothing worse than unflooding it and then trying to start it again, but it won't start because the glow plug isn't working, and then you flood it again and you just keep going round in a circle of unflooding it and flooding it because your glow plug is not working. So if you check it, then you know. Do your glow plug up. You don't have to do it up tight, just nip it up a little bit. That should be adequate to make a good seal. And now you should have your compression back and you can go away and start it up. And the key is to be patient. Nitro engines, they call for patience. Simple as that. Something else which has come up a lot recently in the PMs of my Instagram and a couple of on Twitter is what is the best way to prime your nitro car, or your nitro engine I should say. Well, the best way is a bit of a dodgy question. I mean, what is the best way? Does anybody know the best way? I don't think anybody knows the best way, because there isn't a best way in my opinion. There's a few ways, but which one is the best? I don't know. Some people put the finger over the exhaust and turn the engine over a few times until they see the fuel being pushed around into the carb. Or if you've got a starter box, you just put your finger over it, or rotor start, you know. I use that method sometimes. The main method I use is to take off the little pipe that goes onto the exhaust. You just take that off and then you blow down there. That then goes through into the tank, pushes the fuel into the carb. Happy days, we're all happy as Larry. Make sure you put that back on, because I have gone through this on many videos, but obviously this is a separate video, and if you've clicked on it you probably need some help, and maybe this might help you. Let me just quickly explain how this works. So the engine and the tank and the exhaust work as one, as a fuel pump.
So the engine compresses air and fuel, pushes the combusted fumes down the exhaust. Most of it goes out like that, but there's a little baffle in here, and a lot of it gets redirected, well not a lot, a bit gets redirected down this pipe, which goes into this fuel tank with a little seal on it, and it pressurizes the tank, which then in turn pushes the fuel up a little pipe up to this, which then pushes it down into the carburetor, which it then enters the engine, gets burnt, comes out, goes in a big circle. It's a pump. It's got its own pump. Your car that you drive on the road will have a fuel pump, a petrol pump or a diesel pump in the tank, electric one, that pushes the fuel to your engine. Whereas this one, the engine does it itself. I know there are some cars with mechanical pumps that use themselves to pump their fuel. I'm aware of that, but let's not get too complicated. I mean, if you didn't know how this works, then, you know, I don't want to confuse anybody. But so it's very important that you put this pipe back on again, otherwise you will be able to start your engine up, but it won't stay running very long because it won't have any fuel being pushed to it. There we go. Hopefully that's cleared that up for the ones that was asking me. I should mention probably that they do, because I know some people are going to mention them, they do little pumps that you can put on your line, on your pipes, and it's a fuel pump, basically a primer, just like you get on a lawnmower, except these are in line, and you know, and you let go like that, and it just sucks in air, and then it sucks in air when you let go, and then when you squeeze it, it pushes it in the tank. Does the same thing, but that costs you money. It's free if you take the pipe off and blow through it. They also do, I have seen, and I've never seen anybody have one, but I've seen them for sale, electric pumps. So I don't know how that work. I've never had one. If anybody has one and they know how they work, I can't see the need for it. It seems an unnecessary expense. But they do electric pumps for priming. So basically, well, I can understand how it works. When I say I don't know how it works, I can understand how it works. But what I mean is, why would it work? Why would you need it? And I'm not mixed up with the ones for electric pump for pumping your fuel in. No, I'm not mixed up with them. This one I saw on eBay was a little pump that you put on your return line here, if you want to call it a return line. And then when you wanted to prime your engine, you had a little switch, you pushed on it, and it pumped a bit of air in and pressurised your tank and primed your engine. That just seems like an unnecessary bit. It's a novelty. If that's what you want, that's what you get. Go and spend your money, you know. Waste your money. But yeah, I'd say the two ways that I would say for priming an engine, the best way in my opinion is to take that pipe off and blow down it, put the pipe on, happy days. The other way is put your finger over the exhaust to block all the air, because it won't be fumes, it'll be air coming out, and it'll go straight into the tank, primes it relatively fast. Whichever way tickles your fancy. Those are the two that I would recommend to you. Alexander asked me what is the best way? This question, the best, is it's a tricky question to answer when somebody says in a hobby like this, what is the best way to do something? But what is the best way to clean your air filter? Now, it's just a piece of foam, so you have to bear in mind that cleaning it with something which might dissolve the foam could be a problem. There's a couple of ways that I would recommend. Number one being nitro fuel. Just get some of your nitro fuel, or if you do what I do and you've got some old nitro fuel, use a bit of that rather than using your brand new stuff you've just bought. But it doesn't matter. Nitro fuel, get yourself a little tub, put the air filter in the nitro fuel. If you're hardcore, don't wear gloves. If you care about your skin, wear some gloves, like the latex ones. Put the air filter in the tub, douse it in nitro fuel, squeeze it all around. I probably could demonstrate with this one because it definitely does need a clean. I'll tell you what, I will do. Give me a sec. Alright, so this is the only tub I've got. Doesn't need to be that deep really, but it just needs to contain your nitro, because otherwise if you pour it on your table, it will just run everywhere, won't it? You can use a bloody saucer if you wanted to, or a dinner plate, it doesn't matter. As long as your nitro stays in one place so you can use it. Yeah, so just get your air filter, stick it down there like that. Put a bit of nitro on it, like that. And then look, it'll soak it all in, lovely jubbly. And then you just got to give it a good old... It won't make it... It'll be stained. It won't make it spick and spam. Well, it might if you cleaned it enough. But this one's an old air filter, so it might fall apart. But yeah, it'll still be stained. I mean, you'll never get it absolutely perfect with nitro. I mean, you could probably use some other detergent or whatever, and you might clean it a bit better. The other method to use, which I used for a long time on motocross, when I used to do motocross, was soapy water. Hot soapy water to clean the air filters. Some people used to use petrol on their air filters, but I used hot soapy water and it brought them up perfectly. The only downside, and you could with this as well, the only downside with using hot soapy water is that you have to make sure that the filter is dry. You have to leave it outside to dry, or squeeze it as much as you can, press it, you know, make sure it's as dry as possible before you put it back, because if you start your engine up and there's still water inside it, you might suck some water in, and with a nitro engine you will do some damage. With a motocross bike, not so much, but it ain't going to be good. If you suck in water with a little nitro engine, you will cause some damage. With nitro fuel, you can put it back on wet like this. I can put that back on the engine now and start it up, there'll be no trouble, because it's nitro and it sucks in nitro through the carb anyway, so a little bit extra being sucked in through the air filter is no problem. So, but you squeeze it out. Once you're happy, spend a bit of time squeezing it out. I don't really want to use any more nitro. I don't really want to. Let's see what I've got. Got a little bit more in there. Look. This is quality 25%. Even though I just said don't use your good stuff, I had the 25% already in that bottle. So let's get it as clean as I can get it. Look. Get it as clean as you can get it. You can see the dirty nitro in there, so we're definitely getting a lot of dirt out. This filter definitely needed to clean. In fact, it was quite good that it was dirty, wasn't it? Because it gave me the opportunity to demonstrate to you lot. And yeah, now you've got yourself a clean air filter. And if you just give me a second, we can bring back Mr. Carnage. And you'll notice that it's puffed up quite a lot, but you can just stuff that back in there like that, and when it dries it will shrink a little bit, so it'll make a bit of a better seal, but it's just because it's puffed up a lot it looks a bit funny. But yeah, and we've got a nice clean air filter. Now I know some of you are going to mention oil. Use air filter oil. I haven't got a lot left. I need to buy some more. It's always very good practice to use some good quality, well, I suppose any air filter oil. I bought this bloody years ago, and that is the price of it. I dare say it's about a tenner now for a little bottle, but there we go. Yeah, just get some air filter oil, put it on the filter where you still get your gloves on, smush it around a bit, make sure the whole filter's covered, stick it back in. I'm not going to oil this filter because I'm going to replace it, but that's for another video. I literally just cleaned that just now just to show you like how to do it. But yeah, get some air filter oil and make sure you got loads of oil on there. And happy days. See you in a bit. Right, so let's do a little bit of zoomage. Hopefully that's alright for you lot. So another question is pull starts. I get a lot of people sending me messages, so there's not only one particular that comes to mind, but I do get them quite often. I normally just reply to their PMs and try to help them out, but this might come in handy for some of you lot. Now, a lot of people, they are a bit rough with the pull starts, and they do tend to snap the springs or the string. But if you've got a bit of a sticky one, like you're trying to start it, but then it won't go back in, and you end up with a string flapping everywhere like that. And it won't go back in. I assume that actually it's not very good, is it? There's a couple of things you can do. So if your string gets stuck out, you can just flip over the car and get to your flywheel here and just sort of wiggle it around a bit. And what it'll do is it'll make the crank sort of turn in the opposite direction and whatever. And it's normally the one-way bearing that gets a bit stuck or something like that. And it'll just jigger it a bit and it should zip back in and we should be happy. But what I tend to do to try and keep them from getting sticky in the first place is get some oil. You can use WD-40, any sort of oil. I usually use this 3-in-1 oil, although it is getting expensive now, so I won't be buying it again. I'll be, well, I don't know what I'll buy really. If it's the cheapest out of all the oils, I'll buy it again, but it's expensive now. But anyway, get some 3-in-1 oil and just dribble a bit in the hole. And what it'll do, it'll work its way round. Yeah, you get a bit of an oily string, but that's all right. It'll work its way round, and it should get to the bearing and the springs and everything, and stop it from being sticky. And happy days. I've never had any problems with anything by putting oil in the Polestar. I can't see any disadvantage, any issues that could be caused by putting oil in the Polestar. I mean, I can only think of positives about it, so there we go. Obviously, if you snap the string off, then you've had it. And if you can't get it to free up, then you probably snapped a spring or something, or the one-way bearings at it. In which case, you've got to take the Polestar off and change the bearing, or find out what the problem is. But in most cases, bit of oil, we've got a flywheel, happy days. And don't be too rough. Don't be too rough with it. You ain't got to yank it like a lawnmower. You just got to do little pulls like that. Just little sharp pulls, just to get that piston zipping up and down nice and quick to get it fired up. Now, I'll just say, just in case you were asking me a question and you're watching this and you're a bit upset or disappointed that your question wasn't in here. Now, a lot of people have asked me about tuning. How do you tune your engine and all this kind of stuff? I will make a video on it. I've done a couple of tuning videos, how to tune your engine. I've done different ways on different videos. I can't really do a tuning video at the moment. It's night time now. I can't go out now. So I will do a separate video, again, another one on tuning. But this time I won't use anything else. I'll use this FTX Carnage, because a lot of the questions are on either Carnages or other more, what would you call them? Entry level, I suppose, is a good term. More entry level cars and buggies, and they want to know how to tune those engines. So I'll use this Carnage, and I'll do a separate video on how to tune the engine. Well, in my way of doing it anyway. So just in case you was watching this and expecting to have your question answered on tuning, as I said, don't be disappointed. It'll come. Just be patient. After run oil. Do I need to use after run oil after every time I stop the engine or leave it? Look, you lot. 20 years of Nitro, yeah? That doesn't mean I know everything, because I don't. I know that much, yeah? There's people out there who've been doing it 30, 40 years. There's people out there that have been doing it for less. They've been doing it for 10 years, but they've been doing it a lot more. They might be racing. They might be just doing a lot more stuff, and they got a lot more knowledge. But from my experience, yeah, 20 years of Nitro, Savages, Rushes, loads of different engines. I've never ever used after run oil. I just stop the engine, put the car in the boot of the car, if that makes sense. Or when I was younger, I didn't have a car because I was 10 years old. I'd stop the engine and put the car in my bedroom and forget about it. Never ever had any problem with anything. All the engines start up fine afterwards the next day, and I haven't noticed any excess wear. Does that mean there's not any excess wear? No, there might well be. But do you need to use after run oil? No, I think it's just a gimmick, another expense, another thing that companies... I'm not saying there's not an advantage, yeah, because it makes sense. You run an engine and that runs at stupidly high RPMs, 44,000 in some cases, but most of them about 20, 30,000, aren't they? RPMs. They get hot. They run on a fuel which is quite abrasive, really, even though it's got oil in it. It makes sense that you would want to put a bit of oil down the plug hole when you leave it to keep it lubricated. Of course, makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make any sense. But the question is, do I need it? The people are asking me, do I need to buy it after run oil? No, I'd say. You don't need to. You can if you want to, and there's no harm in doing so, but there's also no harm in not doing so. So there you go. That's my opinion. Take of it what you will, because it can be a controversial subject. I've had people get quite upset when I say you don't need to use after on oil. They're like, yes you do, keep it lubricated, the piston will get stuck, blah 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 blah. I don't know, I've never had a problem. There you go. Hope that helped you out. Hope that answered your question. Just as a bit of a side note, you don't have to go and buy after on oil, you could use 3-in-1 oil. It's probably the same thing, I don't know, I've never even bought a bottle of after on oil in my life. So I don't know what's in it, but you could just use a bit of 3-in-1 if you really wanted to, and you've got 3-in-1 in the shed, and you don't want to go out and buy some after on oil, but you want to look after your engine and you think it might be beneficial to use it. Get some 3-in-1, a few drops down the plug hole when you're going to leave it for the night. Happy days. I know you lot, I'm going to leave it there for this one. There is some more, but I haven't got my phone or anything with me, so I can't check what they were, but I know there was some more. I can't remember what they were though. So I know there's some more questions, but I hope that helps some of you, and some of them, all of those, apart from the soldering iron one, I thought I'd chuck that one in because I get people in the past asking me about how to clean a soldering iron tip, but I haven't had anybody recently, but I've had people in the past. So I thought I'd add that one in, but all the other ones, they all, you lot, viewers, subscribers, asking me, how do you do this, how do you do that? So hopefully I did help you out. Someone else said to me, it wasn't a question about doing something, but when I mentioned about the PO box in another video, I mentioned that they're £300 for a PO box, and someone said, why don't you get an Amazon wish list? Because then you don't need a PO box, and people can send you things if they want to. The downside to that is they can't send me things that they've got at home that they think that I would want, but if they wanted to buy me something, then of course they can. Funnily enough, I've got an Amazon wish list. So what I've done, I'm not sure if I've had it in the descriptions before, but anyway, I've had a good old sort through it, chucked out a load of the stuff, because everything on there that I'd forgotten about, the price has gone mad high, and I thought, well, I'll have to get rid of all that. So I cleaned it out completely. I put a few things on there that I would like or need, one of them being an engine heater, because my one has stopped working. Well, it works when it wants to. Anyway, so the description to the Amazon wish list will be the description. The link to the Amazon wish list will be in the description of all the videos from now on. If you so wish to, then you're welcome to have a look. So there you go. I've got an Amazon wish list. I definitely can't believe the prices of PO boxes, man. They're £300. When I had one years ago, and it was £178 for the year, and I paid it. Because everyone was like, oh, get a PO box, I'll send you some stuff, and I think 3 or 4 people sent me some stuff, which was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But was that worth £178? I'm sorry, but no, it wasn't. And it's not worth, well, of course, look, I didn't mean that ungratefully, but all I meant was it was £178, and you know, at the beginning of it I got 3 things, which is fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Thank you for everybody if you're still watching this. This was years ago. But then the rest of the year it was just wasted money. So £300 now, no way. I looked at other places. You can rent, they're all in London. I'm not going to London. They don't deliver, you know, and it's all in London. You have to go to London to the pickup place to pick up your parcels. I'm not going to London. Simple as that. I'm not going 50 miles to pick up a parcel, and I'm not going to London, full stop. So, crazy, man. Anyway, any more questions or anything you might want to know, or just leave a comment. It's nice. I like reading comments. Comments are good. They're good fun to read, good fun to reply to. We have a good chat. Lovely. Enjoy your weekend. Well, hopefully you'll see this video Wednesday morning. So enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your hump day. Hope you get some humping in, and I'll catch you later on. Ciao for now.